Okay, I ran out of videos to do with my Ferrari 348, so I'm branching out, and someone I know has generously allowed me to use his beautiful Lamborghini Espada as a test case. And there really wasn't a whole lot on YouTube about Lamborghini Espada, so this is sort of a overview. Basically, Mr. Lamborghini was thinking the 400 GT was getting old and he wanted to replace it with some sort of a 2+2 or 4-seater. Marcello Gandini, who worked for Bertoni at the time, came out with the Marzal show car, but apparently had the engine in the back and the glass doors and everything, and he wasn't real impressed by it, although I actually had a car model of it when I was a kid and I thought it was a beautiful car. Anyways, Mario Marazzi came up with a design for the Islero, so he decided to go with the Islero at the time. And as far as I could tell, Marcello Gandini went back and did a subsequent design which came out with the Espada, which is the Spanish word for the sword used to kill bulls in a bullfight. And the car was engineered mainly by Giampaolo Dallara, another name that everybody's familiar with. This is just a shot of the Lamborghini Marzal show car, so you can get a flavor of the pre-Espada and the gull-wing doors that Gandini was into and Mr. Lamborghini was not into. So it basically was made between 1968 and 78, and the initial years the Miura and the Islero were being made at the same time. Also of note, the initial design of the Espada also had gull-wing doors, which apparently Mr. Gandini was into, but Mr. Lamborghini was not. He wanted regular opening doors, so they changed it to make sure that the doors open like a normal door. Of note is that the car is only 46.8 inches tall, which is incredibly low. If you think of the GT40, the Le Mans car, it was called GT40 because it was only 40 inches tall, and this is only 6 inches taller, and this is supposed to be a normal driving car, so it tells you how low, and it's 6 foot 1 inches wide, so it really is longer, lower, and wider. For Lamborghini, it was actually a very high production number car. They made 1,217 of these, which is a lot more than the Miura, and certainly a lot more than the Islero. But because it's a 4-seater, it never really got quite the interest of the Miura, which obviously is the most beautiful car ever made, or the Islero. It was made in 3 different series, Series 1, 2, and 3, although since Lamborghinis were basically hand-built cars, they made changes to the production line along the way, and probably no two are exactly the same. This is just a shot of that signature rear-end glass treatment for looking at the back. I think this was the first car to do it long before Priuses and bunches of other cars. Some Hondas, I think, did the same thing, but I think this was the first one to actually do it, just like I believe the Miura was the first one to have the slats across the back window before everybody else jumped on that bandwagon. I mean, when we're talking about Marcello Gandini, he also did the Miura, most of the Lamborghinis, including the Countach. He did the Maserati Ghibli, did the Lancia Stratos, which I think is a spectacular car. Even did the Fiat X19. I mean, most of the greatest cars he did. So here's a shot of the 5-bolt Espada wheels that replace the original Series 1 center lock Miura wheels. Another interesting thing about the car is it's got twin gas tanks, which are filled from both sides of the car. Each tank is 10.5 gallons. Apparently they are interconnected with a very thin hose. So you can fill one and eventually the other one might fill, but most people apparently just fill one and leave it at that. Now, one of these signature features of the design are the NACA ducts on the hood. It's these strangely shaped things, which everybody assumes is for engine cooling, but actually that's for interior ventilation. The actual engine cooling is done by the cuts along the side of the hood that lets heat escape from the engine area. Now, like I said before, the body is in steel. It's a semi-monocoque and has fully independent suspension. They have to realize about the same time this was being made, Ferrari was still using separate chassis, and most of the cars had live axles with leaf springs, so Lamborghini was sort of ahead of his time on a lot of these things, or at least Dallara was, who did the engineering on this car. The engine is a 4-liter twin overhead cam 60-degree V12, and it's got 6 twin throat 40 DCOE Weber carbs. The cams are chain drive. It puts at 325 horsepower in the Series 1 car. In each series they upped it. The next one was 350, and Series 3 I think it got up to 365. The initial Series 1 cars had no power steering. Series 2, they improved the dashboard. It was less hexagonal. There's a new steering wheel. They improved the ventilation in the back seat. And they went from the Miura center lock wheels on the Series 1. The Series 2 went to 5-bolt wheels like this car has. They also offered power steering optional, and all the brakes were vented discs. The Series 3 cars, they had a more curved dash. They upped the compression ratio 10.7 to 1, so you got 365 horsepower. The power steering was standard, and you could even get an optional automatic transmission, which came from Chrysler. The Series 1 cars were 68 to 69, the Series 2 were 69 to 72, and the Series 3 were 72 to 78. But in 1975 they came out with the dreaded Federal Impact bumpers, and that was that. The hood is aluminum on top of a steel frame. The rest of the body is steel. We'll crank up the engine here for a minute. Now, the original car had twin distributors. This one's been converted to electronic ignition, so it runs a lot better than a non-electronic ignition one.